special, and we got a guy that I'm not sure enough people know about, but I think they will next year, and that is Steven Ashworth of Utah State, a Utah native, played for Lone Peak, a great high school program there, and coming off a terrific year with the Aggies this year. Steven, welcome, man. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks so much for having me. I'm honored to be here and just appreciative of the opportunity.
No, I'm excited to have you. And first of all, I want to give people kind of a little background because I think you're well known within the Mountain West,
Yeah.
but maybe not as well known nationally. First of all, I'm gonna give people a little background here. You committed to Utah State on November 7th, 2017. A week later, Stephen, in the Champions Classic, and I was there. Grayson Allen went for 37 points in Duke's win over Michigan State and Miles Bridges. So does that, turn back the clock a little bit to how old you are?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. I was always somewhat young for my grade, I'd like to say, but at the same time, yeah, 17 at the time of my commitment and 22 currently. So,
Yeah, and for those that don't know, the reason behind that is you went on a 2-year mission to Indianapolis and did some missionary work there for 2 seasons, came back. You committed to Tim Duryea
yeah.
at the time, who was the head coach at Utah State. It feels like an eternity ago because now Duryea you never played for. You played for Craig Smith and Ryan Odom last season, and obviously there's another coaching change this year where Danny Sprinkle will replace Ryan Odom, who went to VCU. Let's go through, first of all, what type of player you are. For those who haven't seen you play, you averaged about 16 points a game, 4.5 assists. You shot the hell out of the ball. You were almost a 50, 40, 90 guy, but
Yeah.
you missed a few at the line this year, and it cost you. You were at 88% from the line.
Yeah, that was actually one of my goals before the season started, and so that's another goal heading into this next year is to be in that 50, 40, 90 club, and obviously the club that I feel like Steph really made known well to me at least. And so yeah, I think from my perspective of how I see my game, I see myself as a playmaking point guard who can play really well and be really effective in the pick and roll, as well as a knockdown shooter who can shoot it from just about anywhere. And I take pride in being able to be an elite shooter and playmaker as well. Who I think from my standpoint, I've obviously been a little bit smaller, and so on the defensive side, I take pride in being able to be a defender. Although that might not be the first thing people look at when they see me.
Yeah, I think that's the area that some would say, right, you probably have grown, but need to even continue to grow on the defensive end. But offensively, you've gone from a guy that, averaged about 6 a game when you started your career as a freshman and have made kind of incremental jumps into not only a guy who put up numbers this past year, but somebody that's got a well-rounded game, that's not a liability on the defensive end, and is somebody that really has become really, sought after in the transfer portal. You went in there and I assume all heck broke loose for you, and you got all sorts of attention that you never got when you committed to Tim Duryea back when you're a high school player out of Lone Peak.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a unique and different experience for sure from my high school days. And I think that this recruitment out of the transfer portal is what I probably dreamed of in high school, my high school recruitment being. And so it's been fun and just really humbling that I've had so many opportunities to play basketball at many different places next season.
Before I get to who you considered, and you can rattle off some of those schools in a minute, one game that I remember watching earlier this year was when you went against Oral Roberts. And for me, it was a great opportunity. I wanted to see Max Abmas against you guys. I had heard a lot about you at that point, and you went for 30. And I don't know if it was a head-to-head battle, but it was a heck of a matchup. And Abmas, one of the best guards in the country, everybody's known about. He's also in the portal, but took Oral Roberts to the Sweet 16. You ended up taking Utah State to the NCAA tournament this year. How much did this year give you the confidence that you could play at the highest level?
Yeah, I think that this year has been a key pivotal year for my performance and also my confidence. I think that um, for every great basketball player, there's that point in time where you believe before everybody else does, and I think that this season was one of those years for me that, I believed I could do it, but at the same time, it was rewarding to be able to prove to myself that, hey, I am the type of basketball player that I believe I always could be. And there's obviously the funnest thing for me is that there's just so much more that I can do, that I even know that I can improve on and grow in. And so really excited for that in the future.
All right. So when you're going through the process and you're cutting down the list of schools that you're looking at, a lot of them are in the West Coast, which
Yeah.
it doesn't surprise me, obviously. Being a Mountain West guy, those are some of the schools that are watching you closely. If you do want to make a move, who did you kind of limit it down to at the end before you made a decision? Who was really on you that you liked?
Yeah, so I think that one of the schools that I don't know if very many people talked about outside of the fan base was actually Utah State. I had some really good conversations with Coach Sprinkle. I think that he's going to lead the program in a very successful way, just how it has been previously. And so there was a lot of thought of that. I was obviously comfortable here because I've been here for a few years. Um, Another local school in BYU and Coach Mark Pope was recruiting me heavily and was really interested in just the opportunity to stay at home and also play for another school that's playing in a power conference, which was interesting and appealing. And then there was some kind of same conference type of high caliber teams that I talked to and have a lot of respect for. And I think that from some of those standpoints, I was a little further along in the process with some of these other schools. And Washington was one that I talked to heavily in the Pac-12 and was probably my favorite of the Pac-12 opportunities that I had, as well as my former coach, Coach Odom at VCU. I think that they had an opportunity for me and a place where I could excel and was something that I thought a lot about. And I think in this whole process, you alluded to my age. I'm also married, and so that goes
Hey,
into
you gotta worry about your wife. That's
exactly
important.
right. So a lot
Yeah.
of the recruiting process was, me telling the coaches that, hey, if you want to recruit somebody, recruit her because she's gonna be the one that has the biggest say at the end of the day. And I knew that my life was gonna be sunshine and roses just about everywhere that I went, flying, to different cities, playing the game that I love. And so I wanted to make sure she was comfortable as well, and that played a huge piece into it. Um, and then I recently took a visit to Creighton. They were obviously another school that I had thought a lot about and really liked their system as well. And so those are kind of the finalists in the recruiting process for me, as well as I guess I should fail to mention Oklahoma State. I talk with them a lot and really have a lot of respect for Coach Boynton and their program.
All right, so it's time to make your announcement and tell everybody where your wife signed off on, because we know this wasn't really your decision. This was your wife's decision. If you're smart, which you seem to be, she's making the call and you're going along for the ride. But I'm kidding somewhat.
Yep.
Where did you decide that you want to continue your career, Steven?
Yeah, so after talking with my wife and I, Peyton, we're gonna be Blue Jays next season. We'll be playing for Coach McDermott at Creighton, and can't wait to be playing in the Big East and experience just what it's like in Omaha and that fan base. And we're super excited.
Congrats, man. Congrats. I'll tell you what, the Big East is going to be ridiculous next year. I don't know how much you followed it, but
Yeah, I
you know,
did followed it a lot.
it's insane. I mean, the Big 12's been the best league in America, I think, the last couple of years. I think the Big East, obviously, you had Rick Pitino, a Hall of Famer. You got Ed Cooley going from Providence to Georgetown. Kim English coming into Providence. There's just so many loaded teams this season, and Creighton will be one of them. So, why did you choose Creighton? What you had some really good options, and why did you and your wife decide that Creighton was the right place for you?
Yeah, thinking through it a lot, I think that being able to go out and see Omaha and just see the place, kind of feel it, was a huge thing for us. And while we were out there, just the fan base, the support that they give the program it's something that I felt like I was spoiled with here at Utah State, just a community that cared so much about what we did on the court. And that's why I play basketball, is because I love when people have a passion for it like I do, and that's exactly what Omaha has. Uh, and another huge thing for me was the teammates, the caliber of guys that I'm going to be around. The people at Creighton have a huge sense of character and trust and belief in what they're doing. And I think that there's players on that team that are going to be able to help me perform at my highest level. I think there's pieces on that program that are NBA caliber guys. A lot of them are even already on draft boards that have, in some ways, decided to stay in Baylor Shireman. And so, to be able to surround myself by those types of guys, I'm a firm believer that whoever you surround yourself with is who you're going to potentially become. And, I want to be an NBA guy, and those guys are on that track. And so to have the opportunity to join them and to be a part of what they've already built has been a huge honor for me. And I think lastly, my relationship with Coach McDermott and the coaching staff, and just the opportunities that in a short time, I felt like we've been, you know, in a way, friends for a long time. And I think that for me and the coaching staff, as a point guard, you need that element of trust and just communication. And they've been very clear to me of what they think I could do for their program and how I could be successful there, and also how they could be more successful with me. And so those are probably the biggest things as I'm thinking through this process that made me really excited about Creighton basketball.
Well, it's interesting because, they've been known for their shooters.
Yeah.
That's kind of what last year, they really weren't a great 3-point shooting team. And you'll come in, and obviously we know Shireman can really shoot the heck out of the ball. But now it gives McDermott probably another shooter that I think he really needed
Mhm.
off last year's team. And, there's some big decisions to be made. Obviously, Kalkbrenner, does he come back? Trey Alexander, those guys are both going to test the waters and see where they stand. But you, Shireman, you bring Kalkbrenner back, you bring Alexander back. I don't know what's going to happen with Kaluma. How much did he sell you on the fact of, hey, listen, you can come in and there's minutes now, with Nemhard transferring out. This is going to be your team. I assume you and Shireman will kind of play point guard by committee, both of you.
Yeah, so the plan has kind of been, the picture that was painted by Coach was that I'd have a very similar role to Ryan, and he did a great job. And I've obviously even watched some of their games last season and have thought, man, like that's a point guard spot that I would love to be in. With just the pieces around him. And so with that, and then also Trey Alexander's developing more of an on guard type of role and playing some point. And so I think that from just my ability to shoot the ball off of screens and also utilize that for the team, it'll be fun to be able to be in the pick and roll a lot myself. But then if other guys get the rebound, I'm sprinting the floor trying to create mismatches in transition for me to have bigger guys closing out on my 3-point shot. And so I think from that perspective, it makes a lot of sense for a basketball situation for me, that I'm going to be able to excel and the team's going to be able to be really successful because of all the pieces we have.
Yeah, you'll have versatile guards. I mean, that's what you
Yeah.
want. 3 guards if Trey comes back, 3 guards that can all shoot the ball, make plays off the bounce, play off one another. It should be a fun team to watch. I hope, by the way, and I've spent enough time in Omaha. It's a great town, like so
Yeah.
underrated as a town. But I hope you and your wife like steak, because you
Yeah.
better in Omaha.
Yeah. We went to Jay Gilbert's the first night we were there in 801. The second night, some great steakhouses in Omaha.
When I was there years ago, um, one of my favorite kids of all time is Doug McDermott. I mean,
Yeah.
just the best, like the best kid you'll ever find. And I just remember going in years ago, and Greg and Doug didn't pay then because he wasn't making money. Now he can pay. He can
Yeah.
pay for all of Greg's meals, but they took me to the Drover, one of the best steaks I've ever had. So
Really.
there's plenty of options there. Downtown Omaha is awesome. I do think you'll love it. And congrats again on the decision. I can't wait to see you in the Big East. You play plenty around me in Boston. So I'll
Yeah.
see you, Providence, plenty of places. And again, you will get no shortage of TV exposure playing in the Big East next year, because every game is going to be entertaining. It's going to be a war, and I can't wait to see what you're going to do at Creighton.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Appreciate your time and having me on, and can't wait to see you at some games in the future.
Definitely. Steven Ashworth will be a Creighton Blue Jay, and I think a lot of people are going to know this name come next year. Steven, thanks, man. Appreciate it.